This is my new website, witchshells.com. It's made with WordPress. I've got a project I wanted to be able to do and put it out on the internet, and I wasn't able to do that with my old web hosting service because I wasn't using WordPress. But now that I've gotten on WordPress and bought my new domain name, witchshells.com, I've got a website that's got that capability. I've got a program that I wrote in GeoGebra called Shell Sketch, and it's embedded on here. It takes a moment to load. There it is. And I'd like to show it to you. I'm going to go full screen and magnified. On mouse. Okay, that about fills up the screen. This over here on the right side is the 3D window. I can move it around and look at it from different angles. And this is the base of a shell. It represents, where the bottom is. And I can control its size with this slider. And I've got all these different models in here. Ammonite, bivalve, cone. This one's a horse conch, lightning whelk, tulip shell, turritella, turbo, several different ones. And the nice thing about this is you can reshape it to any kind of shell you want. Right now it's limited to shells that are smooth, that don't have a lot of fins or spines, ornamentation on the outer part of the shell. But it's also got controls for making any color you want. These lines here, those are preview spirals. If I turn on the design points, those are shown. Let me zoom in on that. These define the shape of the shell, and I can reshape it just by moving these points. And moving the points just a little bit can make a huge difference in the way a shell looks. And if you're trying to copy a particular shell species, it can make quite a bit of difference. But there's outside points, and if you like, this is more for the purpose of pattern making. I've got another surface inside wall, turns that option on, and it's got its own points. And those do the same thing. If you move them around, it changes the shape of the shell. I originally wrote this program, with having in mind the ability to create patterns, and I've got a program that does that. That's Shell Designer. This one is Shell Sketch, and Shell Designer, it's like a paid feature, and it's also on this website. But let me go ahead and draw a shell and show you how it works. I'm going to leave the inside wall turned off because we don't really need it so much for, just drawing shells, just for patterns. This horizontal line represents the top of the base, and it's when you're designing a shell, you got to extend the profile of the shell, outside of, beyond where the bottom of the shell is, just to define, part of the shell that's close to the bottom. This color animation doesn't stop on its own, so after it gets finished drawing, you got to press that stop button. And I should have zoomed in before I did that, but I didn't, so I'll go ahead and do that. And as you just saw, whenever you zoom in, that erases everything, but it's easy enough to redraw. Let me tell you a little about the color. The color scheme this uses is color, saturation, and lightness, or hue, saturation, and lightness. And you just select your color, and you can adjust the saturation to make it, vivid color or more closer to grayscale. I like to keep it on, higher up. And the lightness is this slider right here, but that just controls this horizontal line inside this box. As the animation goes, whenever you start drawing, this point down here on the bottom moves from left to right, and it projects a line, vertically over it. And where that vertical line intersects this curve, that Y value of that intersection point determines the lightness of the color that it's drawing at that moment. And this right here, the frequency, that's like a multiplier for the speed. The animation plays at a speed, and then increasing the frequency makes the color stripes. Increasing the frequency makes the color stripes narrower, and decreasing the frequency will make the bands wider. So I'll show you. This will be on a high end of the frequency, and these color bands are rather narrow. I'll stop that. This button right here clears it out, and now I'm going to reduce the frequency, and I'm going to change the color too while I'm at it. Make it more reddish color. Now the bands are wider, and the number 5 in frequency basically means that this is going to go through its cycle 5 times during the time, this point that draws the spirals travels from one end to the other. And you can draw over what you've already gotten drawn. I like to fill it in with, go with black or white. And the way to do that is you turn the frequency down to 0. And let's say I want to go over it with white. I'm going to push this line up towards the lighter side. And so that intersection point is, higher up on that graph with a frequency of 0. And then whenever I go over it again, it's just going to keep that same color lightness a constant. And let me start over. I'm going to go with the darker shade, and I'm not even going to animate it. You can grab this point and just drag it along. You can do it either in 2D, or you can grab it also in the 3D window. And then you can change color, make a few stripes, different colors. Put one down here. And something else you can do, you can turn on styles, and this slider right here controls the line style. 0 is a solid line, and then 1 is long dash, short dash, dotted line, and then dash dot. I'm just going to keep it on solid line for both the inside and out right now. And this one controls the line width. I can turn the line width up, and then, you know, these lines that it's drawing now are quite a bit fatter. You can see where it's sticking out more. And what else can I show you? Yeah, there's a much fatter line right there. You can go into parameters and change the curvature. This value right here, D, if it's set at 0, it won't have any spiraling. Everything will just be a circle. It's like, you know, as if you turned it on a lathe. And that slider, it's real slow to respond, so I'll just click on this input box and type in the number that I want. My computer's running slow. Okay, there, got. Clear it. Maybe. Yeah. Okay, there it is. That's a curvature of 0, no spiral. And most conical spiral shells are going to run in the range of like a 0.1 to like a 0.3 or 4 maybe. And then if you go all the way up to like a value of 1, that'll make a shape like a clamshell. I've got a model that does that, a clam, a bivalve. I'll turn the base off, clear it, and another feature, I've got this 3D centering point. I can drag it around on the XY plane, or, well, that's not the XY plane, but I can drag it around on the plane and then center the 3D view on that point. And then I'm going to go back and make my line width thinner. Oh, and when I press that, it centers on a point that's on the shell axis, but this point is not on the axis, and that's the one I want centered on, so that I can enlarge it and make it larger on the screen. And now whenever I draw it, I'm gonna make it kind of like in a yellow range, yellow to gold, a little bit of green in it, with some frequency, and see how that looks. Okay, now a clamshell or a bivalve, those have got you know, 2 valves or 2 halves of the shell, and this program calls them left and right because it's more for conical spiral shells, so it's right or left instead of top or bottom, but same difference. And then center on that point, and I'm drawing both the left and the right. turn on the outside points and change its shape a little bit. Interesting effect. If I slow the speed down, I'll have less airspace between these lines, but that's obvious enough. I don't have to show you. Let's take a look at some of the other models. Let's see, here's an ammonite. Ammonites are both a right and a left, just like people are. But if I was to activate that left-hand checkbox, it would, I'd have two ammonites with their openings together. It makes a strange shape. If you want to see what it looks like, just go there and try it, because this is free to use. And let's draw that. That's got that lower speed that I did just a moment ago. I'm going to turn it back up. That's one of my favorite shells. I wish that ammonites were not extinct. We've just got nautilus and a few others that are, like a large flat spiral. I think those are the prettiest types of shells, but they got wiped out at the end of the Cretaceous. Okay, let's take a look at a fig shell. That one's got a bit of a base, and let's make it blue. Okay, let's look at the lightning whelk. That's one of my favorites. Oh, we do need that point. I can show you how this can draw a cross section. Let's see. I can use this centering point to push it up. This 3D window's got like what's called a clipping plane. It's actually a clipping box. It's a 6-sided box, and when you're looking straight on at it, it goes around the edges of the window, and then it won't draw outside of that boundary. So nice drawing what a lightning whelk shell would look like if you took a rock saw and cut off the top of it. And it actually works better with the inside wall. And I'm going to make the inside wall, I'm going to make it kind of like a pinkish color. Call that good. And there you've got a cross section. Except I'm sitting here talking about the lightning whelk being left-hand oriented, and I drew it right-handed. But pretty cool. Anyway, feel free to go and take a look at it, play around, see what you can make it draw. And oh, I forgot one other thing. If you draw something that you like, you can press this button here, picture of 3D, and it will take a snapshot and save it to your computer. And that'll put it in your downloads folder. So thanks for watching. Go play with it and let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.